on, come on, come on. Yes! Come on.
First of all, congratulations on all your recent success in the US. It's been super fun to watch, and you always keep the fans updated, so merci.
For all you white boys fans out there, if you come in close, on the starting hold of Sleepwalker, there's a really, really good finger jam.
For who doesn't know you, and of what we're talking about, recently you said Return of the Sleepwalker, and before that, Sleepwalker. For who doesn't know you and doesn't know much about this boulder, can you give us a little description?
Sleepwalker is in Red Rocks in Las Vegas, and the stand start was one of the, I guess, first sort of considered solid 8C plus boulders. It's this incredible sandstone feature of like these weird like crack undercuts and like big slopers. And then Return of the Sleepwalker is the sit start that Daniel Woods added to that. Jimmy Webb was the first ascensionist of the stand start, and then Daniel was the first and only ascensionist of the sit start until I've come and repeated it. The stand was put up at 8C plus or V16. Me and a couple others that have done it recently thought maybe more it's V15 8C, and the sit was put up at 9A or V17, making it the, I think at the time, the second in the world.
I think so. I'm trying to remember when the video came out, and then it's like a year before that, I guess, was the send. Like 2021?
Yeah.
22? What made you actually want to go all the way to the US to try this boulder?
Quite a few reasons, I guess. But I'm kind of like been on a little bit of a mission to kind of go around and try all the 9A boulders. Ideally to do them, but at least to just sort of see what they're all like, see where the level is, so that I know for first ascents that I try and look at in the future as well, that where roughly the grades lie. But Sleepwalker mainly is just, it's one of the like best looking boulders I think out there, so I've always just been really psyched to come and try it. I never planned a trip earlier to even just come just for the stand, because I kind of always assumed it would be really hard for me. I didn't think it would be in my style. So yeah, since basically doing Bird and I'd be like, oh okay, like maybe I've got a chance, you know, I was like got super psyched and decided to start planning a trip.
Why are you saying that it's not your style? Because I mean, I'm nowhere at those grades. But in terms of climbing, like, it is a super hard boulder, and it has a bit of everything. So it almost looks like you know, you want to try it because it's so fun and varied. But why are you saying it's not your style? Or did it look like your style?
Yeah, so I think it's more my style than I thought it would be. Because the holds, like the crux moves this big slap to the sloper. Slopers are not my style for sure. I also basically never climb on sandstone. I used to when I was younger because it's close to where I lived in Edinburgh, but now I like never climb a sandstone. So yeah, the thought of like slopey holes instead of crimps and like a rock type I'm not used to, I just kind of assumed it maybe wouldn't be my cup of tea as much. But actually the crux is all about holding this left hand undercut and this like really bad right hand pinch. And undercuts I'm pretty good at, so I feel like actually that maybe worked out quite well. And the sloper itself that you slap to is actually really good. It's got like a lip to it and a lot of friction. So the move to it is hard, but when you hit it, you stay on. So actually it worked out a lot better than I was expecting.
And I'm thinking like, since you sent Burden, it's a couple of months, and you had this trip, I guess, planned a little bit, and before the sit comes to stand. So for how long did you train with this boulder specifically in mind?
Yeah, really not long at all. The plan was end of last year, I was having a long trip, a month in October to November, and then end of November to December to go and try Stefano Gazolfi's route Excalibur. And I was like, oh, okay, I've got like kind of 2 months split over this time. I'll be able to hopefully go out, get this end, then I can come back ideally as soon as I do it and start training for Sleepwalker. But a mixture of weather, skin, and maybe just not being quite strong enough, I just wasn't able to put that route together. So I ended up staying out there a really long time. And it meant when I came back, I only had, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks to get ready for this trip. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of training, but yeah, I tried as well as I could to sort of work on undercuts and pinches in that time.
Yeah, I was thinking like, how many times like you watched the video for the beta, and did you like ring up the other climbers beforehand, being like, okay, like, you mind measuring so I can kind of replicate you on the board? Was there any of that involved? Or that's all in my mind?
No, I didn't ring anyone up and ask about measuring. I did speak to one company a little about potentially like scanning the holes and making replicas, but there just wasn't really the time. I did watch the videos though, like pretty endlessly. Even being out here, having tried the boulder, like you'd be on a rest day and I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna watch Daniel send it again before for psych.
So again, watching it from, I guess, a fan's perspective, as a climber's perspective, you rocked up to the boulder and did the stand start quite quickly, which, you know, then you eventually did suggest the grade of 8C. And there was obviously controversy. The keyboard warriors were typing along. Do you just want to tell us a bit about that first bit of the boulder and your decision on the downgrade?
Yeah, so it went down really quickly. I almost did it on my second session. I had 2 good goes where one of them I felt like I was going to do it for sure. It was about halfway into session. And as I went for the second last move, my left hand just ripped off. I think I posted this on Instagram. And then the next time I stuck the sloper move was like 4 hours into the session and I was just too tired to do the end. But the fact that I felt like I was getting close that late into the session, on only the second day, I was like, oh, this is going really fast for what I would like. I guess in for 8C plus, I was like, I think it would take longer than that. And then third session, it was like warmed up, first go, just sent the line. And I feel like for the stand, it's very different to the sit, where the stand is basically only about that sloper move. It's only 2 moves from the start, and the first 2 moves aren't that bad. You basically get set up to that sort of double bump crux, completely fresh with chalk on your hands, good friction. So it comes down to basically 1 move. And when you stick that, unless you're really short and you have to do the extra move beta from there, the top part isn't that bad. It's basically about this 1 move. And I think I was really lucky. I had good conditions those first couple days and it just pieced together really quickly. So I thought, to me, it felt more like an 8C. And from quite a few of the people I've spoke to that have either done it or tried it as well, a lot of them think it could be 8C as well, even if they took a different grade at the start. And then you get if you want to go full keyboard warrior in this, in my opinion, climbing, it should always be graded for the easiest way of doing a boulder.
Yeah.
Which might not be the way that you can physically do it, because it could be too reachy or too bunchy.
Yeah.
But you should, the overall grade should be probably for that. And looking at the beta that Xander Waller did, where he uses this way better undercut to do the sloper move.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful way of doing it, and it's slightly too far for me to reach, but I can see how it would maybe feel better. Although the way he did the end is definitely not better.
Easier.
He skips the second last move and does just a straight dino to the jug, which I did individually and isn't too bad individually, but to link from lower is ridiculous.
Maybe he just doesn't like the
just needs maybe super impressive, but I feel like 8C is probably more fair.
It was a week ago that you sent the sit start, so now I guess the feelings have settled in a little bit. Yeah, how are you feeling about it? How has it been, I guess, accomplishing that climb in full? How are you feeling about it? So
psyched. Yeah, it's super happy. It's been such a weird trip and so much more successful than I expected. And then I finished it, I guess, with 2 weeks of the trip left. Did you put pressure on yourself to do this boulder within this trip, or were you just really psyched and you were super excited to just also try it and do it eventually? I didn't put pressure coming out on the trip, but I think when I was 2 sessions or 3 sessions away from the send, I realized that it was very possible. And yeah, I think I definitely put pressure. I was I know I can do this. I just need to have everything align, make sure that it stops raining, the conditions come, and that I climb well in it. How many days on and off do you do? It depends. So for this boulder, I was trying to do 1 day on, 1 day off, but there were quite a few times I had to take 2 days off. I think I used a better sequence or an easier sequence than what Daniel did on the sit, because he does this horrendously hard shoulder move like Gaston with his left arm, whereas I was doing this weird undercut instead, but it meant that you do multiple undercut moves on the left arm and your left shoulder would just get completely destroyed. Yeah, there was a couple times I had to take 2 days, but weirdly it was never for skin. I never got bad skin trying it because all the holds aren't really sharp or crimpy, and it's the first boulder project I've had it so long where I could have a 4-hour session and be walking away oh, my tips are a little thin, but everything's fine. You're not just staring at your fingers grow back, grow back, grow back. But yeah, one last question, and well, this is part of a conversation that one of our colleagues brought up. I'm not gonna say who,
But I'm gonna read more or less the quote. And he said, "How did Will Bosi become the best climber in the world?" He also said it in total awe. So you're like, there must be a secret to, yes, all of this success. Come on, tell us.
I think I'll start by saying, considering I've had 8 days on Adam Undra's Terra Nova from 2011, I feel like he's probably the best climber in the world. But secret, I genuinely, I don't know. He traded really hard. The thing I guess like that I do that's a bit different is I eat like a lot of Parmesan.
It has a lot of protein.
Which, to be fair, Adam does too, so maybe there's something to that.
What's just the sales of Parmesan skyrocket after this? Are you looking for a new sponsor?
I mean, that would be the dream, to be fair, right there. But
oh yeah, and just real quick on Terra Nova, do you think that's the hardest boulder in the world now that you've been around sampling a couple of other ones?
Yeah, I mean, I've only had 8 sessions on it, and I'm like finally at the point where I could start trying links rather than just work individual moves, I think. So it'll be interesting to see in the next like 2 to 4 sessions how the progress is. Because if it's like Unveiling or Return the Sleepwalker, then if it's like in their grade range, they should come together within like 4 sessions if we're comparing time. I also think it should be my style, but like how I see it currently, I'm like, oh, the thought of linking it all together is ridiculous. So I'm pretty confident right now that it's harder than what Adam proposed grade wise, but until I actually like start linking it properly, it'll be hard to say for sure.
Is there any advice you'd like to share to the world?
I don't know. Have fun. Eat Parmesan.
All right. And on that note, I think that's it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this.
Thanks for having me.